So it's an unboxing. This is one of my most anticipated unboxings. It is from Amazon. And let me just tell you another horror story about Amazon. They wind me up. Now, this book's a hardback. And it's a brand new release for, right. And that's two safety factors. So with Amazon, obviously I've mentioned horror stories before in my videos when I've ordered stuff from Amazon. But I found if it's a brand new release, if it's just literally come out that week, or if it's a hardback, there's less chance of it arriving in the normal chewed by a dog looking kind of condition that they normally send them in. So fingers crossed this is okay. But this is from Rebellion Publishing, the publishers of 2000 AD, and it's a book that I heard about a year ago that they're going to be doing. And the day's finally come when they've published it now, and I cannot wait. So let me just stop rambling and just show you what it is. So it is Alan Moore Future Shocks and Other Stories. Just show you the size. So this is the American Standard comic size. So as you can see, it's bigger than an American comic. I love that cover. So it's got like a silver metallic sheen on the lettering. So what does it collect? So it says here, Alan Moore is the legendary comics writer credited with transforming the medium and how it was seen through his seminal works such as V for Vendetta, From Hell, and of course Watchmen. But before any of that, he cut his teeth at 2000 AD, the galaxy's greatest comic. It was there that Moore honed his craft in preparation for the accolades that would follow. This first volume in a new series collecting all of Alan Moore's work for 2000 AD brings together every single Future Shock story he wrote, as well as a host of other one-off stories. Moore is a master of the short format story, and this collection doubles as the perfect guide for how to write comics to a page limit. The collection also includes the story A Holiday in Hell, which has never been reprinted in English since the first publication in 1980. More stories are complemented by the work of a string of legendary artists, including Dave Gibbons of Watchmen fame, Ian Gibson, who did Halo Jones, Eric Bradbury, Rogue Trooper, Brian Talbot, Granville, and also Luther Arkwright and Sandman, and Steve Dillon, Preacher, and Brett Ewins, who did Bad Company and Johnny Nemo. So it is a hardback, like I said. It's £39.99, $53.99. Like I said, it's an oversized hardback. And let me just zoom out again. So that's the spine. So this is volume 1. So they will most likely end up collecting these other stories, which include Skiz, DR and Quinch, and of course Halo Jones, which they've already done a hardback of. So I don't know if they'll leave that till last. I've no idea. But this is the interior pages. So let me just adjust. So that's the interior page. Wonderful. I love that they're using orange as well. It's very satisfactory about orange in a book. I don't know if anybody else feels that way. Rebellion always do a nice design for the books. You feel like you're getting something special. I must say, it's a weighty book. I think it's about 260 or 270 pages, but it's a very, very weighty book. It's very high quality paper. So I've read some of these stories before, but some of them I might have read but forgotten. So I can't wait to reacquaint myself with these. So I will be doing a review once I've read them. And again, even back in these early days, he was thinking outside the box how you could do the layout for a comic, as seen here. This is some gorgeous John Higgins artwork. John Higgins was the colorist for The Watchmen, and at the present he's doing Dreadnoughts on Judge Dredd magazine. He's a wonderful artist in his own right, as you can see here. Very, very accomplished. And then Gary Leach, who did a really nice Miracle Man / Marvel Man run with Alan Moore. And here we have Mike White. I'm not familiar with Mike White, but even though I'm not familiar with him, he's got a nice style to his artwork. And then we have Paul Neary, who's more famous as an inker. I'm surprised it's Paul Neary. This looks more like Steve Parkhouse. And then Art Einer. Again, not familiar with, but again, liking his style, or their style. Jorge Casanovas. This one I do remember. And Jorge Casanovas used to do a strip focusing on, what was it called? Henry Normal, Joe Normal, whatever it was called, from Judge Dredd. Paul Neary again. And then John Higgins coming back. So a lot of these stories are like, some of them are just 2 pages. That's a sign of good writing when you can do a good sting in the tail in 2 pages. Others are 3 pages, others are 4 pages, others are 5 pages of these feature shots. So you've got a real smorgasbord of different styles and flavours. Again, John Higgins, he's such a wonderful artist. And I've said that about 10 times now. And then you've got Brian Talbot of Luther Arkwright's fame, and more recently Granville. And as I've said before, he did quite some significant issues on Sandman, and he also did quite a nice run on Nemesis the Warlock. And here we have Dave Gibbons. He needs no introduction. Green Lantern, Watchmen, and it's on and on and on, and more of his work here. And then Redondo. Redondo is very undersung. He was one of the prime artists, especially in the English comics in the 70s and 80s. I think he's from either Europe or Brazil. Then Dave Gibbons in colour. Hmm. Robin Smith. Okay. And this is Redondo again. And again, just these snippets. So these are like things that you can just pick up, put down, pick up, put down, when you've just got a few minutes to kill. John Higgins again. I forgot that some of these were so short, to be honest. As I mentioned before, I've read 2000 AD, majority of 2000 AD since the beginning, since 1977. Dave Gibbons, you can't mistake his work. He's never looked amateurish. He's always been so polished. He's very much like a Brian Bolland. In fact, I'd say, I know this is going to be blasphemy, but I'd say he's more of a fully rounded artist than Brian Bolland, and he's quicker, which is a benefit. I adore Brian Bolland. He's got his art to the peak, but for me, there was just something intrinsically satisfying about Dave Gibbons' line work. And Redondo again. You can see the stories are getting bigger now. That one was a 5-pager. Who's on this one? I don't know. Here we go. M. White, so Mike White. And Mike White again. I think Mike White did some stuff for Action Comics, maybe Battle, I'm not too sure. And A. Langford, again, somebody I've never heard of, but again, really nice looking art style. Joe Elridge. Mike White again. He's done quite a number of collaborations with Alan Moore, and here's some one-off strips. So Hot Item with John Higgins doing the artwork. I vaguely remember this strip. And D.B. Dibworth's Disappointing Day, Alan Langford on the art. Now, the reason you're seeing a panel like that in some of the 2000s, much like DC in the 70s and 60s, they sometimes had half a page and the other half of the page was adverts, so that's why it's looking like that. Then you've got some very. Sorry, I'm just trying to get comfy. Then you've got some very early Alan Davis artwork. You can tell that's him by this drawing here, but on other pages like here, I thought it was the Steve Dillon. And that face as well, very Steve Dillon looking, but yeah, early Alan Davis. That looks great. And then here we got Rojo's Robotales. So Rojo's was in Robusters originally, and then ABC Warriors. And he did some kind of like, almost like his Tales of Terror kind of like one shots. So John Richardson on this art. Dave Gibbons on this one. I mean, just look at that. That is just absolutely amazing shading. Steve Dillon, Speak of the Devil. Rest in peace. Wonderful, wonderful artist. Again, another artist who came out fully formed. Steve Dillon again. Oh, this was a great story. That's the main character from the cover. I think it's just a two-parter, but it got such a cult following. Actually, no, he came back. Abelard Snaz. Mike White doing it this time. So there's kind of like these mini, like a mini universe that Alan Moore had just created this character who kept on appearing back in these one-offs. More again here, Abelard Snaz's story. And then we've got John Cooper, who did a lot of work for comics such as Speed, Tiger, Battle. Didn't do much for 2000 AD. And then we've got Paul Neary again, whose art style has changed yet again on this one. Must admit, he's a great inker, but I don't think he's the best artist. I think he's good at inking other people's stuff. A bit harsh, I know. Mike White again. I didn't realise there was that many Abelard Snaz stories, to be honest. Robusters. Oh wow, this is gorgeous. Stephen, look at this. That's just beautiful. Another artist who's just sadly missed. He was so good. And then Brian Talbot, who's one of my personal artistic heroes. Just something very pleasingly textured and dense about his art style. And on this one, we have Joe Eckers, who I have never heard of in my life. Not the greatest. Then we've got Time Twisters. This is wonderful. I remember this one. A. White doing the art. He's quite a solid, dependable artist, A. White. John Higgins again. So Alan Moore definitely had his favourites. This is one involving Einstein. This one is the one that I remember, Chronocops. I think anything that had Dave Gibbons artwork in, it stuck in my head. This was just wonderful. And then we have Eric Bradbury, who did loads of stuff in the 60s, 70s, 80s, but a whole gamut of British comics. I adore his art style. He's one of my childhood favourites. And they've got Mike White again. And who's this? Redondo again. Beautiful, beautiful artist. Just look at that. These are almost like a Ray Bradbury kind of story, where Ray Bradbury could do like the perfect short story. Alan Moore is the same with comics. He could do a perfect short story in comics. This is gorgeous. Look at that. Redondo. Wow, just look at that face. He'd be a great artist for Hellblazer. And then we have John Higgins again. And the Lethal Laziness of Lobelia Loam. So this features Farg, the Mighty, the editor and creator of 2000 AD. Beluda is the artwork artist, never heard of them. They've got a Road Trooper story with Brett Ewins on art of Bad Company fame and Johnny Nemo, one of the co-founders of Deadline magazine. And then another Road Trooper one shot with Redondo on the artwork. And then a colour one shot. This has never been reprinted before, apparently. This appeared in a 1980 2000 AD, 1985 2000 AD annual. Red Planet Blues, ABC Warriors, with art by Steve Dillon on inks and Higgins on colours. Look at that, that is gorgeous. And advertising the Ballad Halo Jones Omnibus Edition. I've only got Halo Jones in a softback, so I am tempted to get that because it looks so beautiful. It's been recoloured. It's originally just black and white. So I am very, very satisfied with that. It's been worth the long agonising wait. It's everything I wanted and more. And I'm pleased that they're not just doing a one shot, they're going to be doing others. So I hope this gives you an idea what to look for if you are contemplating getting this. I would have